someone says, right, just like, give me a call, right, give me a call. So I'll explain this thing because it is not anything else, like, it is not the command for DHCP. It is a command for preparing the computer. So you will understand what I'm saying, like, what I'm claiming. So, and in this practical. So in here, what we do, we are going to install DHCP server and the DHCP client in a manner that we get an automatic IP address. So I'll give you a little bit of something relevant to this theory part as well. Let me explain. Have a second, like I'm just preparing my board, and they'll actually like. I hope that you can see my board. So 7 environment, and we have 2012 environment, 2012, right? So in such manner, so this, like, boot, like, and this is actually on domain, right? This is ADDS. We join, like, this this Windows 7 to the domain controller, right? This is the connected one. Now in the DHCP practical, so DHCP server is running here. DHCP server is running here, server only. This is DHCP client. DHCP client. DHCP client. This is DHCP server. Now what the whole idea is, once, like, request an IP address from the server, right? So DHCP server will assign an IP address to DHCP client, over the DHCP client to this particular PC. So it's that, it is not the static IP allocation. Whenever we do, like, in theory, right, we explain about the IP segment. In IP allocation, there are two types of IP allocations are there. Two types of IP allocation, not anything else, right? Allocation. So one is static. Static. Static means manual IP. Someone, a human being, manually assign the IP address, manually assign the IP address to the machine. This is straightforward, not a problem at all. Human being do. This is ideal for the small scale networks, small networks, like, this is all right. Having the 20 nodes or 50 nodes, like, one classroom in ICBT, that is all right. But if when it comes to, like, more than 500, 600 or 1,000, 50,000 or 100,000 or 100,000, right? And the large scale network, this method is impractical, is not suitable. So we use, like, dynamic IP allocation without a human intervention, right? Dynamic IP allocation will be the best method and the workable method. This is fully automatic, right? Auto mode IP, right? This is for large scale network. So in this manner, right, a dynamic IP allocation will be done through a specific protocol called DHCP, right? DHCP, right? DHCP, which is the dynamic host configuration protocol. Dynamic host configuration protocol. Now, via this protocol, the IP will be assigned. In this DHCP thing, there are two integral components we need. One is DHCP server, and the other one is DHCP client. So whenever the client requests from the server, hey, give me an IP address, server will assign an IP address from the allocated pool. We have the pool of IP. Pool of means like series of IP, which is actually pre-allocated in the server. So from this pool, one IP will take and give to assign to the client of DHCP. That is the whole idea. So server is maintaining database of IP addresses. So and then if the client is request like the free IP address, like unallocated IP address will be allocated into this client as well. So this is the whole theory part of DHCP. Like it's about this is for IP allocation. So whenever you need you need like, a requirement to allocate IP address automatically, this is the only method that we can use. Now we have the problem right in VMware because we do everything in VMware. Now this is the problem. That's why you need to have the extra step like certain commands that you need to input to do something. Now here inside the VM, right? This is VMware. We have Windows 7 and Server 2012. What we're gonna do, right? We have DHCP server, right? DHCP server installed here, server, here DHCP client. Whenever you install Windows 7 or Windows Server 2012, VMware has its own DHCP server. Now this is the problem we have. VMware has its own DHCP server. Now, whenever you install a box, Windows or Linux or whatever, this is the DHCP server allocates an IP address behalf of the VMware. Now, to do this practical, examination as we need to use the Microsoft version of DHCP server, not the VMware version of the VMware server. The DHCP server is already there, but what the examination need is right Microsoft DHCP server. In order to do that, we need to somehow isolate these two machines from VMware and breaks the connection between the VMware DHCP server and our Windows client. So we need to break this connection. We need to break this connection and we have to isolate this machine. But guys, quickly. Do this isolation, so we must enter certain commands. Now, this is bit of difficult task to be done in a manner that you don't need to worry about this thing because you don't need to remember this thing. That's why I told you this you have take into the classroom by writing on the paper. So that's what we need now. So we have to do the practical things. Like practically we need to enable write these things. So so hope you understood this thing. So we need to break this connection with this DHCP server, but then we need to make sure this relationship between DHCP server, DHCP client on these two machines should be made. But the problem is whenever you do these things creating this one, right? So for an example, if you if you don't break and try to make this relationship, this will not work because of this takes priority number one. Now that is one of the problems, right? We have in this practical. Right. So I hope you understood this thing. Right. So this is actually we have a practical problem within the lab environment. Then what we do to overcome this type of thing, Right, we need to somehow have the commands and break this connection between VMware DHCP server and make the priority number 1 for Windows CAP server for this client. That's the way it is, right? So to do that, then we have to stop sharing on this section, right? And let me share my VMware screen. So VMware screen, right? Let me close the section and get it priority for my VMware, right? I hope you will see now the things, right? Now we need a static IP address for the Windows server to carry on this on such manner, right? We need to do something on this machine. First thing is, right, we need to we need to right click on the start menu, and say run, and you must enter a command here that is something called services.msc, because we are trying to break the integration between the VMware DHCP server. This is the VMware DHCP server, can be found virtual
Sir,
network. Yeah, hello.
so what is the run command that's put services?
Right, run, and you can say services.msc.
Okay, sir.
Right, so it says services.microsoft catalog. MSc means Microsoft catalog, but this is the catalog, one of the catalog snap in here. So here, all the services of the Microsoft will be listed, right, which is running on your machine, running and stop and all these things. As you can see, status is running, right, all these things are there. So in this manner, what we need is, we need to stop one special service this, because we are getting an IP address to this this server, right, because of one see this IP address on the server here, say IP config, see IP address. Now it is automatically got the IP address from the VMware server, right? So the VMware server is DHCP server is in here, edit virtual network editor, you can get DHCP server of the VMware. So we need busting what do you call we are getting an IP address from this virtual network editor of VMware. That is actually where that DHCP server of VMware is available. Now because of that we got an IP address, even though we do this type of thing. So prior to anything else, what we need is, we need break this the VMware integration. In order to do that, we need to stop this service. We need to stop DHCP client service must be stopped on this machine. Now this, as you can see now, DHCP client. Now this is actually description of the DHCP client. Registers, update IP address and DNS record this computer. If this service stop, blah, blah, will not receive dynamic IP addresses and DNS updates. This server is service disabled. Service that explicitly depend on will fail after the start. So this is now running an automatic startup type, which means that automatic startup in here, which means that whenever the machine is restarting, this service will be automatically starting. Now the service is running. Because of that, we got the IP address in here. So double click on the DHCP client in order to stop. As you can see now, running state, service state is running. So in order to stop this, you have to click on the stop button. And along with these things, these
Excuse me, sir, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Excuse me, sir, sorry to interrupt you. Sir, under DHCP client, Does it permanently will automatically start, or do we have to manually start as well?
Yeah, so this is all set as like automatic startup,
Okay, sir.
right? So we must disable these all settings. Let me show you. Double click on here. Now since service is running, you must first actually disable the stop the service. Let me actually show you how to disable stop, and along with DHCP client, these services also will be automatically stopped. Do you want to stop these services? Yes. So now it's like stopping one after one, and finally it stops DHCP client. See, now the service status is stopped. But the problem is next time the server is restarting, this because of this automatic start type, this service again starting. In order to disable that, click on here and say disable. Startup type is disabled forever. Apply, and I said like service stop and disable. And also go to the recovery. Now Windows has a recovery service. Whenever service is disabled, Windows automatic recovery process try to repair that thing and going back again to the automatic and running mode. So to overcome this type of problem, first failure you have to say take no action. Second failure, take no action. Subsequent failures, take no actions, and retry this one after 365 days. Right, which means that an year time this will take again a try, but even though they will try, we set as no action. Right, recovery tab. All three must be take no action, and after reset fail count after 365 days and year time. So these two things must be done in order to disable the DHCP client service on this machine to evade from to overcome the IP allocation. See, DHCP client is now disabled. Now you can close this one, right? And close this one. Now you need to do one thing as well. Now since we have this now we need to do now that has been done in Windows machine. Now we need to do certain adjustment in your VMware subsystem. As you can see, right after the Windows bar, which is having the start button, right here, you get the network. Now, in my case, network adapter is bridge mode and automatic set bridge. Right? Earlier, it was host mode, and I'm not going to do that because it's not actually getting the result for me. So what I do is I'll go to that place again where we change NAT to host only mode. NAT to host only mode, right? Now what we need is in here, we have the network adapter installed and I set the bridge mode in there. That's why I got this IP address automatically in Windows. So I got this IP address because of host mode, right? Because of this setting. But this is bridging IP because this is one of my router IP as well. The default gateway is this is my Wi-Fi router 192.168.1.1, and same range I got an IP address because I bridged to the physical connection. So therefore I get same range of IP, not a problem. Don't worry about that. What we do here is we don't use this network adapter anymore. We need to add a network adapter. Can you see the network adapter settings, guys?
Yes, sir.
Right. We need to add another adapter, new adapter to this Windows machine. To do that, now on this virtual machine settings, say add. Here you must select network adapter. Add a network adapter. Finish. As you can see now, second adapter is in place and it says NAT. Now what we need to do is for first adapter, click on the first adapter. Here device status, click on connect at power on and tick off connected. So this must be done like this. So which means that first adapter must be disabled, right? And second adapter, now we use like NAT and host. This second adapter must be set as custom, right? Custom here VMnet1 host only. Custom VMnet1 host only. This setting must be enabled, not NAT mode, but VMnet custom mode, VMnet1 host only. Once everything is done, say OK. So it will add a network adapter to my Windows machine, right? So second thing is like, now I am here, right? When you hover the things, it says custom VMnet1. Let me see which IP address now is propagated. So IP config, there you are. We have 169 IP address. See auto configuration IP address in here. Now this IP address not comes from VMware because we disable the DHCP client service on server. Now, how come like this auto configuration IP address is here like so it's what 169. This is kind of weird IP, right? So this is actually nowhere. This is something, and also like link local the IP address 6 also like propagated. And if the VMware like disable, where this like this IP address. Now Windows Server and the Windows client has another DHCP server inbuilt. Now that must be also disabled, right? That's actually the target because that's a challenge as well. Now first, we should disable the IPv6 IP addressing. See, this one is IPv6 enabled on this new network adapter. Whatever what you need is right, right click on the network to in order to like disable the IPv6, take properties, change adapter settings. As you can see now, first adapter is disabled, right? That is the previous one. Right click and say disable, make it disable like this because it's not connected. This is the new one that we talking about, right? So right click in here, say properties, and disable IPv6 integration, IPv6 integration. Say OK, and disable and enable. Right? Close that. And then check it out whether IPv6 has gone. Right? Not only IPv6, like now it's like everything's gone because it's we disabled and enabled, and there's no IPv6 like integration here. See? Now again, after some time, when you check it out, the IPv6 integration has been like gone, but it has been disappeared. But this automatic IP addressing is still there. So now this is the problem. Now we have to deal with this one, auto configuration IPv4 address. Now all these settings you are not getting any anything, right? Anything means any, right? Any marks. These are extra steps, right? So we need to like carry out to disable these challenges, right? To overcome these challenges. This automatic IP configuration on server is not healthy, right? So what we do is basically now we need to launch a command prompt right in administrator mode. Now, unlike in laboratory, I log my machine as an administrator. As you can see, administrator login I used, right? Now, normally what we do it in lab environment, that is HND account, right? But here I was logging as to system as a systems administrator or using the administrator account. But since I have administrator account, whenever I open up the command prompt, right, it is not anything but administrator command prompt which is having the highest privileges. So if you need like say in your HND account to launch the admin account, admin command prompt, all you need is just type here CMD and right click on here and say run as administrator when you logged as like HND account. So this is the way that launch the run as administrator account will launch the command from in administrator account, and you have to provide the administrator password, and then you get command from in administrator mode, because we need to do low level command in this section. To now disable auto configuration IP version 4 address in here, you have to do something. You have to first reset integration of this place, integration of this place. Let me show you. Now it says net sh. This is something called the command net sh. That means net shell interface. Int means interface. IP reset. Net sh interface IP reset. Upon this, you must get this type of thing. This all interface and everything related things will be resetting. See, it says restart to complete this action. Right? Not a problem. Don't worry about that. And then we will do something else as well. Net shell net sh winsock. Winsock means Windows socket reset. This successfully reset the winsock catalog. We actually make it big. So first net sh interface IP reset, net sh winsock reset. Now we need to reset the DNS entries as well, right? For that, basically IP config / flush DNS, and you would put a space here. IP config / flush DNS successfully flushed the DNS resolver cache, right? And then you can type IP config and see whether you get. So no problem, and the IP address is persist. Now it's time to clear the screen. Say CLS, clear the screen in Windows. Now what we need is we need to do something. Right click on network, disable and re-enable the network connection to see any change is happening, and say IP config and see, right? IP address still there, don't worry about anything, right? So don't worry. So now we need to do something else as well. This auto configuration section must be permanently disabled in order to do the rest of the things. To do that, right, you have to run this type of command: net sh net shell interface IPv4, because we are dealing with IP version 4, show interface INTER. It says net shell interface IPv version 4, Internet Protocol version 4, show interface. You get this type of table right in there. Basically, IDX means index, MET means metrics, right? MTU means message transferring unit, like this. So your connection is in here. So index 23, MET 10, MTU 1005, state is connected, that is Ethernet. In here, your connection is Ethernet. This one we are talking, right? Ethernet. This is the one. So you have to make sure this number right? Note down this number, right? 23, index number is 23. That's actually number. Then you need like execute some command to permanently stop, right, this allocation. Say net sh net shell interface, right, IPv4, right, IPv4 set interface, right, set interface. Now IDX number is 23 and set interface number 23, and then DAD transmits, DAD transmits, right? So DAD means duplicate address detection transmits equal 0. DAD transmits 0, and setting store store equal persistent. Persistent means permanently store. Persistent, persistent, right? Netshell interface IP4 version 4, right? Set interface number 23 from the above table. Duplicate address detection transmits equals 0, and store all the settings persistently. We say OK, you should only see OK. So in here, what we need is now, right? We need to do something now in here. Now, can you remember earlier we executed prior to this, like, we executed 3 commands: net sh, IP reset, blah, 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 right? So we need to do again those type of things. Let me show you. So we can get the type command using like, up arrow key. First, net sh interface IP reset, done. And then, right, winsock reset, done. And then DNS cache must be, clear as well. ipconfig /DNS. Now, so we done the primary steps. In order to do the things. Now, for DHCP installation, the server must have an IP address, right? But that is a manual IP address. That should be the manual IP address, right? So what I do is, right, I'll try to create a manual IP address and allocate to this server. To do that, right-click on network, save properties, change adapter settings. Here, there you are, right? Right-click and save properties. This is where we actually do now. Now we are dealing with IP version 4. Double click on that. You get in here, it says automatically obtain an IP address automatically. Now this must be changed as use following IP address. Right. Let me allocate the IP address like this: 192.168.56, and one for our server, this machine. So this will be calculated automatically. Default gateway, not anything else. This says 192.168.56, one, same machine. Now DNS server also on this machine running, because we have DNS server running here. Right? 192.168.56.1. So this is a manual IP allocation, static IP allocation on this machine. Say this, use the following IP address, because we are the one who's allocating IP address for this, and DNS server manually. Everything is manually. 192.168.50.1, and here 192.168.50.1. Here DNS server 192.166.1. Say OK, and then all right. Right click, disable and enable. Right. Now check, clear the screen and check what are the IP addresses, what is the IP address on this machine, IP config. There you are. We have taken up, right, so correct IP address because we manually allocated the IP 192.168.50.1 has been assigned for this server's IP address. Now, as you can see, now close this. Now this is the server manager reports different IP the previous IP. So what we need to do is click on server manager, close the server manager, and start server manager again in order to fetch the IP address properly. Click on here. There you are. The DNS server now gets the IP address right as 192.168.56.1. This is actually the manual IP of this one, this server. Leave it like that. Right. Now most of things steps are all right, done, right? Right. Now go to our most of things already done. Now we allocated an IP address to this machine. Now we need to install DHCP server. In order to install that, click on here, right? Dashboard, add roles and features. Next, next, next. In here, you can enable DHCP server. Click on that, add features. Next, 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 install. Now the Windows is propagating a DHCP service, right? This is server, not anything else. As you can see, right, installation has been started, right? Hope that you can have like so DHCP service, and as you can see now DHCP has been added to the server roles. See DHCP server on a dashboard. As you can see, the feature installation is like everything's done, right? But you have complete DHCP configuration. Complete. Now launch a post installation wizard, right? Complete DHCP configuration. Click on that. Say next. And here we need to now we have Active Directory domain service running on here, ADDS running on here, forest and domain controller running here. Now, in order to work on Windows 7 client, which is connected to this Active Directory domain service, right? We need to authorize and approve this DHCP server and integrate with Active Directory domain service, just like we did for printer server. So we need to publish like DHCP server service inside Active Directory domain controller. Then only the Windows clients, which is connected to Active Directory domain service, can acquire this feature, right? Now to do that, we must log in as an administrator account. But doesn't matter in my case, I logged as an administrator, no problem. Use the following user credentials. If you log as HND account, you'll be seeing this HND account here. Then what you need to do is you have to use the alternate credential and click specify administrator, the username, administrator password, and then authorize. It will be authorized like that. So since I logged as an administrator account, you don't need to do anything. Use the following user credentials, and because its username is administrator, we already specified that. Say commit, you should see creating user groups done, authorized DHCP server in Active Directory done. If you don't see done, the status is here. If you get an error, which means that you are not getting a proper result. So you have to do the testing again. So you had like, since I have like, the past the things, I can say close. Now I close it out and everything's cool and running. So the DHCP is running here, right? Now that's all right, not a problem. Now you can see like, all these things, right? No harm, not a problem. DHCP server also running on this place, right? Service. And now we need to do rest of the configuration of the DHCP section on server. Go to the tools, right? Here, there's something called DHCP manager, right? DHCP manager. This is DHCP manager. This is your domain name and this is your computer name and this is the domain name. Once you click here, there are two sections open up. That is one is IPv version 4. The second one is IP version 6. So we are not going to deal with IP version 6. We're going to deal with IP version 4. Click and expand IP version 4. So several options. Hold on, guys. No. Mal. Hello. Hello. Good morning. Because I have another class, that's it. So here in this place, you can see right server options, policies, filters, allow and deny, blah blah. Now what we do is we need to click on this space, IP version 4. Earlier we expanded, right? Doesn't matter.
Sir.
Yeah.
So how did you obtain the DHCP window again?
This one.
Yeah, this tab.
Yeah, tools DHCP.
Okay, sir.
So here I go as DHCP manager. So now it's once you click on IP version 4, it says add a scope, right? Which means that earlier in the theory part, I was mentioning that we need to create a pool of IP, right, in order to allocate to client machines. So we need to create a pool. This is something called a DHCP scope. So how do you do that? Right click on here, say new scope. New scope. Next, give a name to the scope. This is ICBT DHCP. Description, the dynamic pool for DHCP server. It is not essential, but that's all right. Next, start IP address, end IP address. Now, one thing you need to know, we must enter the IP range where this is from this IP is like we are getting an IP address to our client. This is 192.168.56 because this server is 56, and you cannot have one here because it's already allocated for our server. So it should be 2 because 1 is allocated for this server, right? Therefore, you cannot use 1 as is 2. And NIP address 192.168.56, and you cannot allocate 3 IP addresses, three digits like for this address. 0 you cannot allocate because that is actually unicast 10 multicast. And you cannot allocate 1 to 7, that's because of that is actually local host. And 255 you cannot allocate, right? Why? It is broadcast IP address. So you can only allocate up to 254. That means there are 254 machines, right? Right? 254 machines can be up to that you can connect to this pool. So we cannot use 1, we cannot use 0, we cannot use 127, we cannot use 255. All we have to omit those 1, and you can say 192.168.2 up to 192.168.254. Since everything is okay, say next. This is exclusion and delay, like that. So you don't have exclusion IP address because we have already skipped that thing 192.168.56.1 because we allocate from 2. Next. So yes, I won't do the configuration these options now. No need. Say no. I will do the configuration later. Right. Next, finish, and it creates a scope of see. It creates a scope 192.168.56. So 0 means the whole range. But the thing is, can you hear? So can you see? Status is inactive. Scope is inactive and it's indicated with red color. What you need to do is we need to active, right? Make it active. The state is make it active. To do that, right click on here, right? And say activate. Right now check it out. See, your scope is active. The scope is active. And now that's actually we created the scope, the DHCP scope, in order to allocate the IP address from the pool. Now this is the pool, and the pool is in now active state. Right? Now here, then you can configure the servers, the server options. Click on here. There's no configuration has been made, right? So right click in here, right? Configure options. Now these things must be enabled in order to do that. First thing is, now there are many numbers in this list. All we need is 3. Number 3, it should be the router. Click on the router and select the IP address. Router may be assigned as 192.168.56.1, which means that this machine we identify as a router and must be on 003. Router is this machine's static IP address, right? This machine. And then go down. DNS server. Click on DNS server. Not anything else. DNS server is this machine 192.168.56.1. It's validated in DNS server. Right, done. And that is number 6. DNS server. And then go back to number 15. DNS domain name. Domain name, which means that our domain name. Click on that. Enter the domain name thing. So in my case, it's icbtnew.com. icbtnew.com is my domain name. See here, icbtnew.com. Apply. So everything's cool and running, right? That's all right. Everything's fine. What we need is now we need to do one thing. Click on here, right click, right click, all tasks, restart to apply the changes. All right, without giving an error. Everything's cool and running, right, without having any problem. This is our to address pool, like as you can see, address assign like will assign from this pool. Right. Now we have like this type of thing, right? The setup is all right. The DHCP setup is all right. This is DHCP setup. Now we need to go back to Windows 7, right here. Now Windows 7 has an IP address of 192.168.1.9. That is actually one range. That's because of we don't have, right, we didn't do anything in here, right? What you need to do is you need to do like same change which is actually we are done in server 2012. Add a network adapter on the Windows 7 machine as well. Right click on this network adapter. This has bridge connection, right? This is actually we done. This is on bridge connection, and go there and say add a network adapter. Add a network adapter here as well on Windows 7. We are done it like for server 2012, and now we need to do on here network adapter finish, right? It's on net mode. The first network adapter, click here and must be disabled, right? And second network adapter we need to set as not anything else, bridge net, not host only. Custom says vmnet1 host only. Second network adapter, this is second network adapter. It has already like set as NAT, but say custom vmnet1. This is the way, right? We are done for Windows Server 2012 machine as well. Say OK. It will install a new network adapter onto my Windows 7. As you can see, installing network driver, right, in here, right? So right click on this network adapter, right, and adapter settings. So first, like this is first adapter which is actually disabled now. Right click and disable, right? In a moment, right, you get like this newly installed network adapter. You must like check it out with the IP address. As you can see now, 192.168.56.3 has been released, right, from DHCP. Right, first like you have to like disable the IPv6 connection. That's all right, not a problem. Leave it like that. So in here, IPv4 address has been like released from the DHCP, which checks like from like that 192.168.56.3 has been released. So see in the DHCP pool, right, where these like things comes from. I refresh like this thing. As you can see now, 3 has been released. Because I refresh, right click and refresh, and say 192.168.56.3 has been propagated from this server pool, right? And right click on here, right? You can do like a lot of things, so it's not a problem. So as you can see now, DHCP is perfectly working, right? Because I got now we created like a pool of address pool of 192.168.50.2 and up to like 192.168.50.254. Within this range, an IP address has been released to my Windows 7 machine, right? And allocated like server 192.168.50.3. Now, one extra option, right? This is not required for examination, right? Now this is actually enough for examination. You are done, like if you shows like this thing, so you're done. And only thing is, right, here, right, in the corporate environment, sometimes now when you have like about 50 to 60 machines, you get whole IP address pool, right, in this space. So for an example, a director or whoever chairman or whoever the top class one, right? So this is actually dynamic. So which means that so whenever we switch off the server, right, the power down the server and clients power down, and the next day you are not getting this IP. You are getting a free IP from the pool, right? Which means that IP address is changing every time. Now today, like this Windows 7 machine could get like 192.168.3. Tomorrow, it doesn't mean that like you are getting the same IP because it's a dynamic. So it could be like 16, it could be 2, we don't know, right? Based on server request or client request, it will change. Say if you need a permanent address, right? Even when you use like DHCP, some machines like director's machine, the laptop, or anything which needs right a permanent IP address within this pool, right? In such manner, right, one or two machines like needs to have a permanent IP address, but whenever like they have to switch off the client or switch off the server, doesn't impact that. Every time they are getting the same IP address. To do that, you have to reserve the IP address. As you can see, the reservation, right? Reservations, like reservation. Now we don't have any reservation, but what we need is right. What we need is right. Now, in order like get into the like reservation mode. Sorry about that. Right click and say add to reservation, and then the next time when it comes like next time, you are not actually changing the IP address. So when it comes like add to reservation, list converted to successful to reservation. As you can see, reservation IP address has been added. So whenever the Windows client is like restarted or shut down or restart, you are only getting from the reservation address pool this IP address only. Right? For this machine, this IP address because it is reserved from the DHCP pool, and DHCP server never issue this IP address to any other machines because it is reserved IP address. Now, even though like if you use dynamic pool, this is how we reserve an IP address and make it permanent to one Windows client. But with that, guys, like so this is finished. The DHCP practical is finished. Now this is actually now having many trickies thing. Now don't worry about that. So you have to call Nipuni, right? And as for this, because this session is completely recorded, right? So therefore, you don't need to worry about that. So get this, what you call DHCP practical, right? The record service, like from Nipuni, call her and ask her to like send you like the link to download this video. In order that you can see every section with the comments and all these things are there. So that's it. That's it for today, right? For DHCP practice. Does if there anything, just let me know right in here. Because now we need to do a Cisco thing, and we do it in laboratory. That's one of the biggest practicals. So, all right. If there's any question, you can prompt.